We're continuing on with the assembly of the Seagull's Model Special Edition 87-inch Corsair. Available from Gator-Rc. As always, link down in the description below. Let's get into it. So I guess that leads us to the next part, would be joining on the outer wing panels, which are right there. And we got wiring to do. Again, how are we going to do wiring? So we got to start working that out, but let's look at that next. All right, guys, for your wing wiring, you got to make a decision. Wasn't quite sure if I wanted to make connectors here or not, but here's the deciding factor. If you want to transport this thing around and leave the center section on your plane and only take out wing bolts, you could do that. I don't want to be taking wing bolts in and out. That's the only bolt that holds this whole thing together. And I'm going to Loctite that baby in, and it's in. The wing will go in one section, the fuselage in a stand in another. So if you wanted to just remove the end wing panels, you could opt for another connector here, and then you can route all the wiring from here over and right in your receivers or modules or whatever else that wiring's going to. Again, I transport all my wings, like you could see here, all in one piece, just like those. And I'm going to do the same thing with here. The fuselage will go in my cradles that I make. There's videos for that if you ever want to see how to make yourself a cheap airplane stand or cradle. That's in my channel somewhere. But ultimately, I'm going to run this wiring through this bay. I made everything long enough that I could fish it through this section. So what that looks like coming through here, I just have holders going through. You can opt to run these through convolute if you wanted to. I've done that at times. For here, I don't think I need to. I can get pretty good access to everything and just make sure that it's steady on the inside and held into place. So I'm okay with that. Convolute, convolute, all of those types of things will help prevent issues down the road. So it's not a bad idea. It's all preference. But that wiring's going to come in through here. We're going to go in through there. We're going to come right under this retract because that area is all protected down in there, and out the center section. And we'll have a connector there where we just take things apart at the fuselage. So ultimately, this thing is going to get fished into there. Those are going to get fished into there. We already have our wing spar installed. So at this point, I think we can fish some wires through and get that wing bolt put into place. Those things look like this, by the way. This is what they give you. Loctite, baby. All right, now that we have all of our wiring through the wing, everything is identified. I'm going to leave these a little long so I could push them when I put the wing on the plane at the field. That I have some room to work with my hands to get these fished up into the fuselage. But I'm going to cut all of these off right about there. And I use polarized locking connectors from Hanson Hobbies. So these things will just click together like that. And if you haven't seen me do this before, one end I do as a male pin, the other one I use as a female pin, and then when they go into the plane, you can never plug in the wrong sides, because the worst that you're going to do is plug these two together and absolutely nothing works. But I don't make them both the same, so this one will be this one will be this one, but otherwise, let's get to time-lapsing. All right, as we get started on the linkages, here you can see the ones that come with it. 3mm rod with clevises, jam nuts, really nice. I tend not to use the hardened plastic horns on here. They would work, but I prefer bigger, beefier aluminum, especially on big planes like this, and this is going to be a big plane. So with that being said, they have here in these fiberglass horns, the clevis will go into there. This was meant to go into your plastic horn on the servo, or the servo arm, if you will. I opted to use their linkage here and here, and I just spun on a 3mm ball link and then a through bolt in a nut there. This is a 1.5 inch arm, 1¼ would be fine for you to use here. I'm not sure if I want to go to this hole or this hole, but I'm about 35 millimeters in available throw before this thing starts to hit the wing. So I kind of like it. Again, depending on how it flies, I can come up to this other hole if I want to. So that's the benefit of the 1.5" arms. So for now, we're going to leave it there. We'll dial down our control throws just to make sure we're not bottoming out here and pulling on this door with the servo. So I think we're going to be pretty good, but let's get to the other. So there's our ArSmoothFlite that we're going to be putting in this. And well, we got one connector there, but we got this going on, and we got this going on, and that's because we got this going on, and it's the weekend before Christmas. So do we know what that means? French toast. I'm out of pins. So anyway, let's get into the fuselage. I guess that's where we're going to go. And we'll have to make the videos around it. All right, we got it flipped upside down on our stand. We have everything hooked up to the receiver. We have everything set up in our ArSmoothFlite. Now we can get flaps done. We can get ailerons done, get our linkages done, all those happy things. So I'll cover it at some point throughout the build. I'll probably throw it into every one of my little videos, so that way in case anybody sees the stand along the way, you know what it is. But this stand is from RightRc, and I've been a big bench builder all my life, but as I get bigger stuff, it makes it really hard to build this stuff on a bench. So flying stands or building stands are the way to go, and I tell you what, I absolutely freaking love this thing. So we'll put a link down in the description below. I will do a separate video on it here at some point, so that way you guys get to see all the neat little features. And I implore you guys, go click on the link in the description, go check them out. But these stands, you can actually fold up pretty easy, take to the field. It makes doing all this stuff super easy. All right, check it thigh out. Ailerons are done. We have the metal clevis, the included rod. We used 3 millimeter ball link ends. Like I said, the nice anodized hardware, strong aluminum arm. Though it's all Pro Modeler stuff. Anodized stuff's eBay, Amazon, wherever you find it best. This is the rod and the clevis that came with the kit. We put a piece of fuel tubing over the end, which they didn't have. Made sure that's nice and tight. But this is pretty decent hardware. I'm okay with that. So we're done there. Now we're moving off to the flaps, and we're doing the inboard first. We have our outboard yet to do, but again, check out the linkage there. We're using, they have double clevises on each end, the arms. All right, guys, something here I want to show you so you're made aware of before you do what I did. Notice I use thicker arms here. I use the nice ball link setup, something super heavy duty, and I use the push rod that they gave me. That is that side. Now let me take you over here to the other side. Notice that this is thinner servo arm and just the regular metal clevis, and that is their push rod. So let me put the gear down and show you my issue. Notice flaps are in the no flap position. Notice how tight that arm is there to the wheel. It's positioned more down and just has the clevis. If you look at the door, doors close. We come over here to the other side. Doors do not close, door does not go down. And you can see if you look at the arm, it's a little bit more back, it's a little thicker, tire is sitting on top of the clevis. You cannot use the more robust setup. You have to use the clevis just as they gave you, with a standard servo arm in there for the flaps. I guess not super ideal, but that's the way you have to go because there is no extra clearance for anything else. But I've tried moving the arms down, I've tried shorter rods, nothing works other than a standard push rod. You could use a clevis where it attaches to the flap. I mean a ball link where it attaches to the flap, but you can only use a clevis up here on the servo arm, okay? I have are 3/4 arms. They have bigger holes. They're made for 3mm bolts, so we put another ball link in there. And then again, 3/4 inch arm. And if I can take you around, you can see the linkage there. We have the nice anodized hardware, the washer over the ball link, lock nut on the inside. And this is what that looks like. So the inboard moves independent of the outboard, but the outboard has that joiner, because if you want to take your wing on and off, there has to be a joiner in there with that. And that's about all the deflection you're going to get, which is still a good amount. So I kind of set up the inboard to match what I already know I'm going to be getting max on the outboard. Now, the nice part is that I can match all 4 of these through the ArSmoothFlite. Yes, you can do it here as well. I don't want to eat up 4 ports out of my receiver, so this is just EX bus from the receiver over to the AR, and then we have all 4 of those independently running. So I can do whatever I need to do to control these independently, but right now they're set up in flight modes. So again, the elevator can be trimmed to each flight mode, so that way it controls my descent rate, where I could use power to land and not just be guessing on the elevator causing it to bobble. So anyway, that's that. You will have longer arms. Let me show you those. So here is that longer arm. This is actually set up to be the ball link out at this end and the clevis on your servo arm on the inside. So that'll work out just fine, whatever it is you want to use, but I'm going to take that off and do ball link just because of the arms that I have. But so far for this plane, if you're watching this, you can buy yourself a whole mess load of 3/4 inch arms, and that's probably what you're going to need if you want to use something more robust than this thick plastic. But for this stuff, it should work just fine. I have no doubt about that. So we're going to go off and we're going to do this one and those 2 over there. So let's do it. All right, guys, easiest way I found to do this, I'm putting the airplane on my RightRc stand, so that's sitting there, and then I just have 2 regular stands holding up the wing, so I can have everything hooked up and still access those servos and still access down here. So let's talk about what's underneath here for a minute, and hopefully you guys can see everything. So let's talk about linkage. This linkage to here, the furthest hole. This linkage coming up from the wing servo, this is the furthest out. The cross rod, furthest one in to the furthest one in here. This one from the furthest out and then over to here. And then just dial in everything the way you need to. So hopefully we can see this. And you can adjust as needed, either on the length of the rods there and there, or with this one over here. But I can tell you, like, they don't sit perfectly because of the flex of the wing. So don't think you're going to get this to sit perfect all the way around, because it's tight over in this corner where it's pulled in, but this one is not. Okay. Next modification I'm making, after several cycles, I noticed that this rod tends to bend, and if it bends down here in the layer, it's going to bend in the air when you have all the air pressure pushing on these things. So I wanted to reinforce those a little bit. You can just use bigger rod if you want to bend it, but I have some of this aluminum tube. You can use brass tube, put some epoxy under it, some JB Weld, whatever you want, and that'll give it some rigidity. And you need space at each end, A for threads, B to start to clear all these arms. So if you want to, go ahead. It's not going to add any weight, but it does make those substantially stronger than the rods that are in there. Also, I'm going to flip it over here in a little bit. The rods from the servos down, I think I may beef those up with some different ones. We're going to take a look at those a little bit more. But when I build something, I want it to be right, and I don't want to have issues with it in the middle of the year, at the end of the year. I want to do it once and be done. So this is why we do some of these mods. But otherwise, that's what that looks like. Let's get that wrapped up on this side. All right, so I know that a lot of you guys have asked for Corsair videos, and there's a portion of this that just absolutely takes forever, and that's just the way it goes. Sequenced gears, doors, retracts, all this crap takes an immense amount of time to get right, and if it ain't right, you destroy models. And here's a good example. I cycled this gear so many times trying to get things to work out, and frustration has it that something's going to slightly bind here or there, or not work out right. And these are 2.5 millimeter rods they give you to go from here down to that L pivot on the bottom side, which I'll cut to in a minute. These things, when you have to bend them to come in and up, it creates an already bend in there in a weak spot. So it doesn't take much before these things turn into pretzels, and it has been nothing but frustrating. So here's the easy fix for this. Throw these things away, and I'm going to put this in the part of the build where you can catch it ahead of time. So I'm at the end, but I'm going to show you guys in the middle. These are just 440 rods. This thing is ungodly robust and strong. So if you look down in through there, this fits down into those sleeves they already have in there just fine. So you're going to have to bend and tweak and shave a little bit on the bottom side in order to get this through. But this is going to be a far stronger and better solution than this stuff. Hopefully you guys can see it. There's your 440 rod coming right in, right there. You may have to grind out in that wood just a little bit more to get that thing to come through there. But good Lord, is this such a improvement over what was there. So we're going to change these out on both sides. Okay, there we go. See how much better that looks in there, and much stronger. When it comes down to installing your linkage, you need to have a decent bend in there. And to save you guys the grief, I've experimented several times with this. So from the center of one to the center of the other, you're looking about 15 millimeters in that bend. So that way when you're installed, to prevent these servos from binding up, making all kind of noise, because mine did and I hated it and I can't stand that. So you see how that servo rod is on the rise with the arm, like it's parallel to it right there. Whereas if you don't make nice bends to them, see how this rod sits down lower? Then it puts all this tension on it, because you want it to stay at the same plane whether it's in or out. You want that thing to ride just like that, so the servo's not growling, making all kind of noise. Here's how we go ahead and make those bends. We already have it marked where we're going to be. Right there, nice and flat. Roll that to a 90. We're going to flip it this way, just give it a little bit extra, and we're going to roll back to there. There you go. All right, guys, this is how we're working on the wing. We got the fuselage mounted up on our RightRc stand. So this thing has been awesome to work with, and now I've just set up my wing on 2 regular airplane stands, just sitting there like that on the wings, and that allows me access to stand here and work on my servos, the retracts, the wiring, and everything else, and kind of just make sure that things work out. So we have our flaps there, and then we have our gear. So that all looks good. Going back up in. So that's kind of a wrap on everything there. Let's cover something with the servos quick. Retract servos in here. I'm using standard servos. These may be better suited. These are King Max 5325s. Again, using what I have here and trying to use up some of my supply in my workshop. You may be better off just getting regular retract servos in here. You can't really adjust the endpoints, so you're stuck trying to find the right hole on the horn for your travel in and out, so these things aren't completely binding one way or another. I don't know if there's a really big happy median for any of these stuff, because you need to keep some pressure on them in order to keep the doors closed, because that linkage inside is somewhat flexible. So ultimately I was like 180 in there, and they were struggling. Some of these rods and the linkage even bent, and at the right heights there's just some friction as it goes down through that gull wing and bends and flexes. So I definitely went with stronger servos here. Again, King Max 5325 seemed to do the trick, have plenty of power to open and close the doors with authority. I like it, and that's what we're going to roll with. But I'll try and throw this in there earlier, make a mental note, so that way you guys know you may opt for stronger ones. Maybe not. It's up to you. All right, so grommets are done. Wiring looks good. We're done in there. If you're going to put this access cover on, you have to cut out these openings, because they do hit the servos above in the fuselage, and there is a right and wrong way, so the hole goes towards the back. When you cut these out, make sure you save them just in case you need any pieces of repair covering, because these things are in perfect condition. If you're interested in the size grommets I use 31/32 outside diameter and 1/2 inch inside diameter. That helps. All right, so let's talk about a few things. Number one, yeah, that's a heavy bird, and that's a lot to move around by yourself with everything together. So transport's definitely going to be easier in 2 pieces. So now we have to talk about all this stuff, and I saved all of this for last. I may import this video clip in all the different segments, because at each different point there's something here worth talking about. So the plane overall looks, I mean, honestly, I think I can get past the oversized cowl. I didn't know how that was gonna look right out of the gate. It seemed to me to be like a little weird when it was coming out of the box, but overall it doesn't look bad. We're going to go ahead and throw some decals on this thing, and we're going to doll it up a little bit more. And I think I'm going to break down, and I'm going to buy a pilot for this thing from Warbird Pilots. One of the things that I think is really goofy is I can deal with a semi-scale plane. I have a lot of them, okay? All semi-scale. This thing, we have to cut out all the way around to that ring, and that thing just sits there. Even if, like, we trim that garbage away and it just sits on there, how does that appeal? The blues is off, the texture's different, or do you just leave it like that? I'm leaving it like that. I'm not putting it on. And these things, I initially thought by looking at these that this whole black thing would get trimmed over, but these gum ports get trimmed out individually and they sit right over there. But when you trim it, it's going to leave a white edge. So I don't know, maybe I'm just going to shape some dowel inserts for that. Maybe I'm just going to cut out those very centers, and I'm just going to plug them in backwards and paint them. I think maybe that would look better, just blocking them holes. I don't know. We're going to mess around with that, but I'm sure I'm going to do something with those. So this stuff underneath, no thanks. Again, the scoop at the bottom, no thanks. Like, it's just stuff I'm going to rip off. I know I am. So, like, is anybody going to see underneath there and care? I'm not. So I ain't going to do it. My point to all of this is what's next. This plane's heavy. And we have these, and you have these, and you have these, and you have all those. And then I also have all of these, plus there's some nuts somewhere. Why didn't I put all this stuff on before? Because you know very well when you're moving around stuff in the shop and trying to work on things and lay things down, what would happen, all that stuff you put on the bottom? Exactly, you're going to rip it off. So decided, no, I would save it for the end and I'm going to make my decision. These drop tanks are made of fiberglass. If you go to drop them, you already know how long that's going to last. But that's weight, that's weight, that's weight. I can't wait to put the Zikoi CG jig on this. And by the way, proper pronunciation is Chikoi. We fought about that in prior videos. So anyway, I can't wait to use that to see what my overall weight is, because this is heavy. All right, let's glue this thing together. Again, we like using Starbond, so this is just thick CA on printed resin parts. All right, let's go ahead and screw in our pitot tube. And these will end in the up position, like so. All right, and there you go. There are the 3 installed pucks. So what I did is I cut them out to be just the diameter of that outside, used some canopy glue, and then I just pushed them in. So I like that recess a little better. If you want to put a little red dot in there or a little white dot to simulate kind of the tip of the guns, you can, but I think that looks as good as I could ask for. All right, everybody, there you have it. That wraps up that portion of the assembly of the 87-inch Seagulls Model Corsair, available over at Gator-Rc, link down in the description below. Do me a favor, head on over there if you're interested in this model or aviation models, RC models altogether. Check them out at www.gator-rc.com. Kind of your one-stop hobby shop, wide variety of models. So we have everything from covered to uncovered, composite to fiberglass to wood, you name it. Top RC model, Maxford USA, Sebart, and as well, obviously, Seagulls models. So I'm Brendan. This is Just Plain Crazy. You're just plain crazy for always hanging out and watching. We appreciate every one of you. Smash that thumbs up button. It helps us out a lot. If you're going to hit this, make sure you give me 2 of those for sure. Shameless plug to like, share, subscribe, all that cool stuff. And don't forget to check us out over on the official Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok Just Plain Crazy pages. So with that being said, until the next episode, I wish you guys happy flights. Peace out.